Hello, welcome back to my channel, where today I'll be showing you how I made my SHAYMIN cosplay in under 10 minutes. I've been a huge fan of Pokemon for as long as I can remember. Even when I didn't play the video games myself, I used to sit and watch my older sister play them. And I also collected the cards and I watched a little bit of the anime, but not much. But I only have one Pokemon cosplay, so I decided I wanted to make a SHAYMIN cosplay on the fly. I had no plans going into this, so there's not really much more I can say in terms of an intro, so let's just get started with the cosplay. So I felt like the best place to start with this cosplay would be the ears. If they are ears, I'm honestly not sure what they are. They're where the ears are meant to be. I don't know how you'd hear out them though. But anyways, I started out by making myself a template out of paper, and obviously I was going directly off an image for this, as I wanted them to look at least partially accurate to the actual cartoon design. And once the basic shapes were cut out, I went back in and added some extra shapes that I wanted to use to make it more 3D. So for the flower, this was done by raising the center, and for the leaves I did this by adding veins. And I wasn't really basing this off any reference pictures of the Pokemon, as being a 2D cartoon character it doesn't really need that 3D element in order to make it look good, but I think it would look better as a cosplay to have something more 3D. Next I used my templates to cut all the pieces I needed out of cardboard, and this is just ordinary cardboard from an IKEA box. I think this did make them a little too thick, so maybe getting a thinner cardboard would have been a better idea, but I don't think it looks thick to the point where I would remake these. I also don't own a cardboard knife or a scalpel, so I had to use kitchen scissors for this, which was quite annoying, especially when I got to cutting out the veins of the leaves. I was so close to ripping and bending them on every single cut, but it got the job done and I saved money by not having to go out and buy a knife. Once I had everything cut out, I went on to gluing and coating all my pieces together, and for this I used a paper mache mixture of water and flour without the newspaper. This stuff gets completely solid if you leave it to dry long enough, and it's a really great alternative for slow drying glue and model primer if, like me, you don't own any of the actual products. The only issue with it is that obviously it makes the product very wet, meaning that the cardboard did start to bend and warp while it was drying, and I did weigh down the flowers while they were drying just to stop that happening. And then for the leaves, I tried to use this to my advantage by putting the glue only on one side. This is because the cardboard is going to bend towards that wet side, and I don't know if that makes much sense. If it doesn't make sense now, it will when you actually see the final product, but it just gives the leaves a little bit more life. So a whole 3 days later, as I wanted to make sure that they were definitely dry before I started painting them, I got to actually painting these pieces. Obviously I went directly off a reference picture for the colours of the flowers, and they came out so good. I was a little bit worried about these at one point because I am not good at mixing colours. Even though it's just pink and it should be easy, I find it quite difficult, but I feel like the colour came out pretty good. I also don't think you can mistake which Pokemon I was trying to be. Obviously if you don't know anything about Pokemon, you wouldn't know they were Pokemon, but if you know what Pokemon are, pretty sure you'd know what this Pokemon is just by these flowers. Oh, and I did add on those little dark purple lines onto the petals, but apparently I forgot to film those sections, so you just have to believe me that I did them. Then for the leaves, I did use the main colour of the leaf in my reference as the base colour, but I wasn't really feeling it. I felt like it looked really dark for some reason, so I decided to go over the top with a very, very light hand and a lighter colour to give the base of the leaf a speckled look. I very much preferred this look to the look I had before, so with that done I went on to painting the veins. For the veins I did a very light yellow toned green. The original Pokemon's design doesn't include veins, but I didn't think they'd look like leaves if I didn't do this, so I'm very glad I did, and I really think it adds a nice amount of detail to them. With the elements now painted, I moved on to gluing everything together. I used super glue for this as I don't want them falling apart, and then I finished them off by gluing them to this headband, just a plain white headband I got from Claire's. And just to reinforce these joints a little bit more, I went over with a strip of fabric that I completely saturated with the glue. And this is the final result of the ears. As you can see, you can actually see my ears, but I knew eventually the wig was going to cover that up, so I didn't really mind. I then decided I want to make this Pokemon some daggers because Pokemon are fighting creatures, so weapons make perfect sense with any Pokemon look. I was originally thinking of making a bigger prop, but then I remembered that this Pokemon is a very little hedgehog creature, so something small and stabby made a lot more sense. And as you can see, I went with a very simple design. This is so it doesn't distract from the ears, which obviously an element of the actual Pokemon. I also made these out of cardboard, but unlike last time, I used a much thinner cardboard from a different box I had lying around, which I think worked a lot better for these, as the thinner look helped the blades appear more blade-like, and this was also useful because the blades do have triple layers on them, and they would look really bulky if I'd used that other cardboard. I then went about gluing everything together with the same water and flour mixture as before. I also made sure to hold these blades flat between a few books while they were drying, which I'm very glad I did, as I was seeing the blades warp while I was applying the final layers of primer, even after the underlayers were completely dry by a few days, so I can't imagine how much they would have bent if I hadn't weighed them down. I will also say that I was not feeling these at this point. I thought they looked so dull and simple, but my boyfriend convinced me to keep going, and I'm very glad he did because they do turn out a lot better than I was expecting. For the painting, I wanted to use the same colour as the ears, and I also wanted to add some white, as the body of the Pokemon is white, and I do want them to match the whole look. As for where I decided to put these colours, I knew I wanted to have the grip section to be white, as I wasn't sure I'd be able to find any cord in any of the other colours, and I would be annoyed if it wasn't exact, so I decided to put pink either side of the white to create a bit of a Pokemon ball look, which actually inspired me to add a little Pokemon ball to the top of the blade, and I think that honestly it was the best decision I made for these daggers, as now even people who don't know Pokemon that well will be able to tell that this is definitely a Pokemon look. I also obviously used green for the blade. This was the bit I was unsure about, however while I was doing it I realised that it was actually the best decision to make for Shaymin, as it is a grass type Pokemon and therefore their attacks are green in colour like razor leaves, so the green could easily be a nod to the Pokemon's type without being too obvious. And I really wish I thought about that before I did it because it's clever and I wish it'd actually been an idea of mine and not just an accident. Finally, to finish off the daggers, I used some circular elastic along the grip to give them more of a realistic look and also make them easier to hold without worrying about ripping all the paint up. Bit worried about getting makeup on these as I don't know how to clean them, but they do look good for now. And these are the final results of the daggers. Personally, I think they really add to the final cosplay and bring out that fighting element of Pokemon that I think is really cool. With the accessories all sorted, it was time to find an outfit, and I didn't film outside because I'm too awkward to film in public, but I did end up finding this white jumper in a thrift shop, which is so perfect. I can't believe how lucky I got. This is originally from Topshop, and it looks completely brand new, so I assume someone got it for Christmas and then didn't want it, but I'm very glad they didn't want it because now I have it. And I didn't end up finding any bottoms that I liked while I was out. However, I have recently got these fluffy pink shorts from a brand called Reclaimed Vintage, which are pretty much the same colour as the flowers, so I think they are perfect, but I don't really like wearing shorts by themselves, so I thought I'd buy some tights and edit them. So the tights I ended up getting were these silk mesh see-through-ish tights, which I tried to match to my skin tone as best as I could, and what I did was I got some fabric paint, which honestly turned out to be completely useless as I couldn't get the colour right and ended up using mainly acrylic paint anyway, but I did use this paint to paint a very simple leaf shape onto all my tights. I did think about adding some detail but decided to keep them really simple so that they don't distract from anything, and this also means that I can use them for other cosplays in the future. If I want to do more grass type Pokemon cosplays for example, these tights would be perfect. And once they were dry I just ripped them off the cardboard and they were done. I think they look quite cute. I'm not a huge fan of these, but they do go well for the cosplay, so I'm not that mad. Next up was the wig. I got this wig off Amazon. I found it by searching green cosplay wig, and I picked this one, which is a wig from an anime. Sorry, I don't have it up while I'm recording this, so I don't know the name of it, but I love using wigs from animes because they come pre-styled. This wig, for example, has little plaits down the side and a fringe, and I just fell in love with it as soon as I saw it. It was just so perfect. Well, apart from the length of the fringe, but obviously that's very normal. When you buy wigs, they don't know how long your forehead's going to be, so they just make the fringe very long, and they just have to cut it. We're finally on to the final step, which is makeup. I mainly use my Odin's Eye Elva 2 palette, which has these really pretty greens and orangey pink tones in it, which I thought matched the best with this cosplay, and then I used the white from the Beauty Bay Bright Matte palette, the I Heart Revolution lip gloss, NYX setting spray, and the Kimchi Drama Cream palette as highlighter. And I just did my normal style of makeup, so wide pointed eye shape and then blush around that shape, on my nose and then on my lips. And I kept it simple so that I could recreate this look over and over again for every time I wear this cosplay. And with that, my cosplay is complete. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it and you enjoyed the final result. If you want, you can like the video down below, comment what else you'd like me to do, and subscribe as I post 2 videos a week, and I'd love to see you again. But until then, bye!